gone through a lot of things where you want to see how the players react. How do you think they're reacting or will react to this new thing, having the number one label on them?
You know what? They've been good so far. I could only tell you what I've experienced with our group. And, you know what? We've leaned on some of the guys that have been around college hockey a little bit. They understand that your season's a work in progress. You know, you usually break it down into really three parts: your first half, your second half, and knock on wood, your postseason. And so our guys have done a good job in the last month at working on their dailies, and I haven't seen that change so far.
How do you this past week? How do you spend that week, and in terms of what do you do, and does it change at this point in the season versus what you might do if you have a week off in January or even later in the season?
It's a good question. Yeah, it changes a little bit. We're still trying to, I know you're probably looking at me like you should have got this done a while ago. We're still doing some different things and trying to grow as a group. A lot of it's dependent on what our schedule was, where we were pretty heavy on the road. So that off week, we added an extra day to be off. There's a lot of things going around right now: flu, head colds, academics. We wanted to really try and give our guys an opportunity to either catch up or get ahead on the academic calendar, and then give some guys some rest that needed some rest. We did that through that week, and then picked up our week here on Monday morning. And from that point on, workouts and through 2 practices, the guys have done a really good job at getting right back on the horse. So we tried to manage our week off. We'll learn a little bit more come Friday and Saturday on how we managed our week off. But from a coaching standpoint, so far the guys have reacted very well to the week that we had previous to this, and then resetting and getting back on it here on Monday.
How has the reaction been, I guess, around, not necessarily within your group, but what you've seen around community in terms of you guys being at that number one spot? And I guess, can you draw back on when you got to that point at MSU in 2015, a couple of years into your spot there, and what you did and how you kind of used that to some degree, but also try and downplay it to some degree?
Well, first of all, we respect it and we appreciate it. But just like with anything else, you have a really good weekend, you better reset in a hurry, because that doesn't set you up for any more opportunity for success or less. The only thing we've talked about is, what do we get to control? That really hasn't changed since day one when you've asked that and we've discussed it. The guys have done a good job. Now, community-wise, it's been really good from the standpoint of they're excited. And that's what you want around your program. You want an excitement to go back and we played the last time at home. The crowd was kind enough to come in and spend their money, and they were entertained. I hope that's what happens going forward. But as we continue to grow as a team, there's going to be some peaks and valleys. And what I've told the guys is, when you have a peak, appreciate it, but understand what it is. It's a moment. And so right now, being where we're at in the polls doesn't give us a goal lead, doesn't give us an opportunity to be ahead of the game. And in fact, I've been on the other side of that where we've hosted a number one team coming in, and I can tell you as an opposing coach, it sharpens your pencil and makes sure that you're on point. So, I'm just assuming that we're going to get state's best, and we're going to have to be really good if we're going to want to get any points out of this weekend.
Coach, I hear what you're saying about it being a moment, but I just wanted to also ask about the women's team also being ranked number one, and it's pretty historic for both teams to be number one in the country. So if you could put in your own words just how exciting it is for hockey to be such a big deal right now at Wisconsin.
Well, we've been chasing them since day one. The history and what Mark has done and what the program here is on the women's side really is unprecedented. What they do on a consistent basis, and so there's a ton of respect there. So to be able to to share that position in a poll at this time is, I think it's unique. We've talked about there aren't many times that happens, and you want to give it the recognition and the appreciation that's there. But I guarantee you Mark's doing the same thing we're doing, which is turning the page and getting prepared for our next opponent, because that opponent's going to try and make sure that we're not where we're at today come next Monday.
Going back to the bye week part, you mentioned, it's good to get rest, healthy academics, but on the other side of the coin, all the momentum, what you guys are doing, is there a little bit like, man, I really wish we were still playing to kind of keep this rolling a little bit?
We'll see. I think we'll find a little bit out this weekend, but at the end of the day, I will just tell you this. I think that the break came at a good time for us. Yeah, you'd like to keep playing. We had some things that we needed to take care of, bumps and bruises, things like that hopefully with some of that rest and extra opportunity to prepare, we'll be in a better spot. No matter what happens on Friday, I thought that break came at a really good time for us.
Do you have any more insight on what the path is for Strayhold now? I know you said you had to have some conversations and make some decisions there. What's that looking like?
He's healthy. Just talked to him a little bit today at practice, asked him that. He came up with he wanted a conversation, real positive one, and I think he's in a really good spot.
As far as last week, from a playing standpoint, were there certain areas and what maybe areas that you, from a skill standpoint, that maybe you want to hone in on to maybe get that extra work in during that week off?
Yeah, some was, the idea of getting fresh, getting healthy, or as healthy as we can be. That was the first point. When you're talking X's and O's, I thought we started to get a little loose defensively. Now, I want to give credit to Michigan and Minnesota at creating those opportunities and second and third waves coming back into our end, defending a little bit better in front of our own net, and then being better off the rush offensively. So those are two things that I think were important for us over break to try and tidy up a little bit. One thing that I've found when you come out of a break that's hard to maintain momentum is your special teams. Your power play, your penalty kill, because that's a lot of repetitions. And if you notice, whether it was our penalty kill or our power play, it took us a little while to get going in the regular season. Game reps are hard to replicate in practice. So our attention here in the next couple of days are going to be to try and get as prepared as we can for what State's going to be doing. They've been going since day one. I don't think they've had a week off, so they're going to be dialed in on their X's and O's, and we're going to have to not take a long time to get up to speed.
I guess a team like Michigan State, which is putting the puck in the net like Michigan, like Minnesota, with some pretty good numbers that way. How has I guess when you look at the points when your defense has done the bend but not break thing, what's been able to not break? What has been the thing that you've been able to rely on that, maybe outside of your goalie, who's made a lot of mistakes?
You just took my answer.
I realize I probably did.
Yep.
But what are the things that have kind of been the hallmarks of what you have seen put together?
Is that second opportunity didn't turn into three. And so to me, it's Kyle making maybe that second save and then us getting back with numbers and trying to get back inside those guys offensively and not give them that third one. I also think we've been a little fortunate, whether it's a post, whether it's somebody shooting a puck wide, which I think can be influenced by pressure. I think we've got to look at it 2020 and understand there's been some really good things that hopefully we can continue on. But as a season progresses, and especially that first half, teams just get better and better and better at defending. And so your opportunities offensively become less. And that is part of what we've tried to focus a little bit on too, because we're going to have to be better offensively, owning a puck, not turning it over, and creating another very good offensive team in transition, and try to make sure that we're not creating it because they're going to create enough on their own.
Was Soye your DJ at Minnesota State too. He was saying that he's kind of taking on that role here, and I don't know if that's something he's had for a long time.
You know what, there's so many peaks and valleys there too. It's amazing the bandwidth of entertainers that we have that are played within our locker room. Some I really like. Some go back to my era. Some I've never heard before, and I'm still trying to play catch up. So I've looked at the locker room being their spot, and so I'll comment here and there on what the selections are. But going back to your question, yeah, I mean David's somebody that I think they respect for a lot of different reasons. I'm just not sure if it's his mix is a thing that's a real strong suit as far as coach is concerned.
I think it's always when you were in college.
You know what, I find the closer they are to my age, that helps a little bit, but
I feel like we ask you this, or maybe I ask you this every Tuesday, but did you envision this start? Maybe not wins and losses, but just how to get the guys to play that you want to play, and what they're able to do.
well, again, I've tried to never put too many expectations on any team at a beginning of a season. And especially starting with the program that myself and our staff have the opportunity to be with now, we didn't have a lot of rubber on the road. We didn't have a lot of experience with that group. So I will tell you, there weren't many nights I was staring at the ceiling saying, boy, I can't wait to be 9-1. That didn't happen. But again, I've found many times I've been on the flip side of that where I'm like, boy, we're 3-5. How are we ever going to get to 500? I try not to stay in those moments very long because ultimately they don't matter. It's really just about staying on the dailies, and the guys have done a good job of that. And as I was asked earlier, the guys have done a good job this week up until the point. And all we need to really worry about, and I know as boring as it gets, is our Wednesday. And come to the rink with the right attitude. And the guys have been doing that, so I want to give them a lot of credit. That way, the staff has done a great job. But Michigan State's going to be excited about us coming to town and playing us in their building. So we're going to have to be on point when the puck drops on Friday.
Everyone else good health-wise.
Yeah, sniffles, things like that. Maybe, I think there's a lot of that going around from what I've been told, but we're going to manage that. But as far as injuries, yes.
Coach, you didn't expect a lot of the groundswell support by our hockey fans, even sort of the periphery, didn't expect this kind of start. How do you watch, what do you think of the building of that momentum and just the overall, maybe not surprise from fans, because they didn't know what to really expect with a new coach coming in, new regime, what they'd see on the ice. Now to see with a record like this, do you ever have a chance to sort of see what's building around you?
Oh, yeah. I'll just go on a small experience. One, I've been in the building previous to this year when it's been full. So have been able to draw on the experience of, wow, it'd be great if we could get that back. We had our first weekend against Augustana. There were a lot of things that were going on in town. And so, what showed me in a real short window, when we came out for the game on that Friday and there were 10,000 people in the building, that's pretty special, and then to back it up the next night with 12 plus, have the game go the way that it went, the weekend go the way that it went. We all get excited about what could be. Our focus really, and appreciate the support, love seeing them come in the building. For me to be able to have a little introduction to the Crease Creatures, to see the guys interact with the students, have the students come out the way that they did and start to build some of that momentum. Yeah, it's really exciting. But I also know that came in a hurry. We want to make sure it doesn't go away in a hurry. And the only way that happens is really if we just stay on pace with what we get to control. And hopefully things will continue in that. We're looking for people that are with us at the peaks and the valleys. Our job's to try and make sure we're driving and putting on a product that they can be proud of. And the guys have done a good job on that. Whether we've won those games, the last 2 games that we played at home or not, I thought the guys have done a good job at going out and competing and playing for each other and playing a brand of hockey that I think is pretty selfless. If I'm somebody that's buying a ticket, you know, I want to win every single game, but I want to feel that those guys are going through the same thing that they're going through, win or losing, as far as the effort and the attitude of what they're representing here at the University of Wisconsin.